Elon Musk made a big announcement, actually in a pretty casual way yesterday. He was asked during a conference over Zoom whether he would, well, I don't know, Zoom, it could have been whatever else. Not Skype, Skype is gone, but it could have been Google Meet, who knows. He was asked about his political donations, the future of his political donations, which again, he donated just a crazy amount of money.
300 million almost?
Yeah, almost 300 million just in the last cycle. So Republicans, he has this America PAC, have been really building up an infrastructure around in anticipation of future donations from Elon Musk. Let's take a listen to what he said.
I think in terms of political spending, I'm going to do a lot less in the future.
And why is that?
I think I've done enough.
Is it because of blowback?
Well, if I see a reason to do political spending in the future, I will do it. I do not currently see a reason.
Right, it's easy to read into that some awkwardness. It's always kind of baked into Elon Musk, yes, but some awkwardness in his relationship with the Republican Party, with Donald Trump. He seems, my takeaway was he seems kind of bitter almost, although it can be hard to tell with Musk,
right,
because it's hard to
That's his standard,
read. Yeah, so this was at Bloomberg's Qatar Economic Forum in Doha, which is just kind of hilarious in and of itself, but that was Musk zooming into it. Again, almost $300 million in the last election cycle, a big PAC that Republicans have been counting on. My take on this is it's actually kind of good for the Republican Party to not be tiptoeing around Elon Musk for the sake of getting hundreds of millions of dollars from him in an election cycle. So just from a populist standpoint, that's a good thing. Anti-corruption standpoint, maybe is one way to put it. That's a good thing.
Yeah, and on CNBC, he acknowledged that he took a beating for his entry into the arena. He blamed it on propaganda from the mainstream media. Let's roll F2.
You were a somewhat divisive figure 2 years ago, but now you really are. I mean, there are people who love you, but there are a lot of people who dislike you, some of whom were your customers. And I wonder, was it worth the undertaking at Doge and everything else that you've done and how outspoken you've been in terms of the things you believe in to antagonize so many potential buyers and or users of things like a robo-taxi?
Well, I mean, unfortunately, what I've learned is that legacy media propaganda is very effective at making people believe things that aren't true.
What would an example of that be?
That I'm a Nazi, for example. Right. And how many legacy media publications, talk shows, whatever, try to claim that I was a Nazi because of some random hand gesture at a rally where all I said was that my heart goes out to you, and I was talking about space travel. And yet the legacy media promoted that as though that was a deliberate Nazi gesture, when in fact every politician, any public speaker who's spoken for any length of time has made the exact same gesture, and yet there's still people out there. And I've never harmed a single person.
No, listen, you know what, Elon? I wasn't.
Now you asked for an example.
I wasn't even going to talk to you about it because, in fact.
Yeah, and so this has had commercial damage to, in particular, Tesla, the most, I guess, consumer-facing of his companies. You can put up F3. This is an article in the Bulwark highlights one guy who paid $110,000 a year ago for a Cybertruck, now being offered $54,000 for it by Carvana. There are an enormous number of unsold Cybertrucks kicking around. But things could be turning around, and maybe thanks to his involvement in politics in the end, put up F4. There's Elon Musk apparently reached out to Pete Hegseth saying that that he'd be happy to collaborate with the construction of this new Golden Dome that we talked about earlier in the program. Donald Trump is going to keep us safe from the missile barrages that he apparently expects to come our way, and is going to build us an Iron Dome times gold. And Elon Musk wants a piece of this, $500 billion project. Well, that's what the CBO says it was cost. Trump says it's basically going to be a tiny fraction of that.
Right.
If you're a betting man, you always take the over on any Pentagon contract.
Yes.
Elon Musk, a betting man, would like a piece of that action. So on the one hand, Musk's saying politics has been really bad for me. For the foreseeable future, I'm not going to be investing. At the same time, he's still hoping he's going to be able to continue to get government contracts, which in our pay-to-play system requires some involvement in politics, but it doesn't require the level that he's been involved in.
Yeah.
Like this unprecedented, like, I'm going to be your banker kind of role that he was playing. And I'm curious how, Democrats were nervous that Elon Musk's super PAC was, and I think some Republicans were nervous too, privately, that it was going to turn Trump into, not dictator in the old sense, but like a guy who can basically dictate anything to the Republican Party, because if you step out of line, here's my man Elon, who's going to put $10 million into a super PAC and is going to destroy you in the next primary.
More than that.
And they basically said that explicitly. And that would give a president an amount of power over his party that no president really has ever had before. But it almost seems like Trump can do that anyway. Like he doesn't even need the money, just his own kind of power and influence within the party can do it.
Well, primaries, yeah, I think in the primaries maybe, but in general elections, I mean, I think we've talked about this in the Wisconsin Supreme Court election, that Elon Musk actually went to Green Bay and threw his cheese hat on.
Said Western civilization was at stake.
Said Western civilization was at stake. I think we're right, our coverage has been correct to pinpoint that as the moment in which Musk started to slowly disentangle himself from the Trump administration. At least in public view, it does seem like that's happening privately. It does seem like he's gradually spending less and less time near the White House, in the White House, and in Washington, D.C.
And luckily for him, he's heavily invested in Eastern civilization too.
Yeah, and space civilization. So
many civilizations. Yeah, he's covered.
The bases are covered, yes. So, but I think part of that is because he wanted to be able to wield so much easy power, in that Wisconsin election was a test case post-2024 general election of Musk being able to come in, register tons of new Republican voters by offering money, like bribing people to register to vote, and then just come in and flick your finger and flick of the wrist, and you've totally changed. You've bought an election, essentially. He was testing that. He was trying that, and it didn't work. And so now in retrospect, the way Democrats framed the election in Wisconsin as sort of a test case for whether or not Musk can buy his way to complete and total domination politically of the United States, that framing looks pretty good, because it seems to have been a message to him that he cannot, that it will not be that easy, and that, if anything, his attempt to do that has become a sort of an albatross for the Republican Party that wants to have a new populist messaging, wants to have a new populist brand, and you have a billionaire coming in and sort of openly bribing people to register to vote and trying to buy elections, again, pretty openly trying to buy elections, spend a bunch of money in cash infusion, change the game. It didn't work. And it didn't work for a couple of reasons. Voters didn't like it. It's not great for Republicans. So that's where, at least I think on the public level, we're seeing him genuinely step back. But whether or not that investment, because we can put this funny post from Tim Miller on the screen, F3. This is about a guy who bought his Cybertruck for $110,000 and then was offered $54,000 back for it by Carvana.
Yeah.
It's a long bulwark story about how they say in their subheading, Trump killed Tesla. And obviously it's true that Tesla is struggling immensely. Some of these cars are struggling immensely, although Tesla's valuation has always been about more than just the cars. It's also the technology. I mean, it's primarily probably like the FSD, full self-driving technology that's in the cars. Nevertheless, yeah, the Cybertruck in particular has struggled for reasons that aren't just Trump-related, but are definitely Trump-related too. So if you thought that was representative of Musk taking a big hit, it actually may turn out that the Tesla hit is nothing compared to the gain for SpaceX, for Starlink, and for other Musk properties, because he's now built up tons of goodwill with the Trump administration going forward. He has great connections with Pete Hegseth, and by the way, that's why people influence peddle, to get the influence when they want it. For example, when there's massive contracts,
half $500 billion
peddled.
Golden Dome contract available.
Yeah.
And hey, look, I'm rooting for Tesla. We need more we need electric vehicle companies and we need American ones. So I hope he pulls this off. And I'm also very delighted that he's tweeting much less. Because, God, that was obnoxious.
So much less.
That was so obnoxious to just see him constantly in your feed.
It wasn't
Nothing
even,
you could do about it.
It wasn't even obnoxious so much as it was just like watching a slow motion Cybertruck crash, right? Like it was painful.
And he just would keep elevating like Cat Turd and Ian Miles Chong into everybody's feeds. You're not doing the world a service with that,
Well, and
or yourself.
He was openly admitting that they were half-baked, right? He was like, sometimes I'll be right, sometimes I'll be wrong. And for a billionaire to be so casual about these pronouncements, that even if he wants them to have less power, even if he wants people to realize that this is just my half-baked 2 a.m. thoughts, it's not how people interpret things that are coming out of the mouth of a billionaire.
And one of the best things culturally about him is that he's always been interesting.
Yeah,
and he stopped being interesting. He became
a reply. He became a reply guy.
He became boring.
Yeah, I think that's right.
No pun intended on his company. And so maybe he'll get his interesting mojo back.
Yeah, it wasn't even good for like his personal brand.
Terrible.
On many different levels. So we'll see. But if you had said on January 21st, for example, it's May 21st, so exactly 5 months ago, that Elon Musk, or 4 months ago, whatever, I can't count. Keep that in mind for all of the economic segments. I know you already, many of you already do. But if you have on January 21st, someone coming to you and saying, by May 21st, Elon is saying he's giving no more political donations and basically he's done with Doge, I think a lot of people would have been like, whoa, what happened?
Yeah. Well, and Russ Vought is taking over Doge, and Russ Vought is a much more dangerous, probably, person than Elon, because he's methodical and he's like a revolutionary.
Depends on your perspective. I mean, if you support the government becoming more limited, relatively limited, then Russ is definitely less dangerous because Elon is more of like a crony capitalist than like Russ is an opponent of crony capitalism, like ideologically. So we'll see where that goes.
Yes, well, we will. And we touched on this briefly while Rokana was here, but the news that broke during the show is that Representative Jerry Connelly of Virginia has died of cancer. This will create a special election. It'll give Republicans one extra vote cushion as they're pushing through their big, beautiful bill. But on a personal level, Connelly took a lot of heat despite facing cancer, running for
terminal cancer,
which turned out to be terminal. He thought he was going to beat it. The top position.
It was a bad
on the
prognosis, though.
Committee. It was a bad prognosis, and not being up to the task.
Yeah.
And I think he deserved criticism for that. Misreading that moment. I have a soft spot for him. He was elected in 2008, so he came in this. There were two big waves of Democrats that came in 2006 and then again in 2008, and both those classes, were a big part of the 2009 and 10 Obama rush of legislation, which created the CFPB, the Affordable Care Act, and on and on. And so he was always in the speaker's lobby, and I think to his dying days almost, which means that he was out off of the floor, just hamming it up with reporters, always willing to be transparent about where he was, and giving good quotes, and also
love that, yeah.
giving good intel. And he just represents it was a swing district at the time. Now it's a little bit more Democratic, so it's not like he was Democratic Socialists of America champion. But he was well liked and a charming guy. Like he came up, just a machine politician. Like he was in Fairfax Board of Supervisors for decade plus, and then member of Congress. Like he's not upending politics, but as far as like a machine politician goes, a good guy. And he'll be missed on that level.
Yeah, people have friendly memories of of him, certainly, that people have shared. And those machine politicians, many of them,
A lot of them are good dudes.
they're very nice.
They're in the right
That's
field.
why they're successful.
They love backslapping. They love the chicken dinners.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
They're super
they like to be around
extroverted,
people. Yeah.
gregarious. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. So
He was also Jamal Khashoggi's representative, and I was always grateful to him for raising the alarm before we knew that that Khashoggi had been killed. He was, because he went into the consulate, and I heard immediately that, like, from people close to his fiance, were like, he hasn't come out. And so there was about a week where there was still some hope that he was alive, and there could be enough pressure put on Saudi Arabia that he would be released. That we didn't know at the time he'd been killed right there in the consulate. But Connelly was outspoken, like in real time. So that was, I credit him for that.
who's back on the show tomorrow, Ryan? Are you here with Crystal?
Yes.
Great, something to look forward to. And I
That's
think
right.
it's just you and me on the Friday show this week.
That sounds right.
All right, well, plenty more
Maybe
to
we'll get a
come.
special guest or something.
Yeah, that's it's Sagar's baby. Just
go,
the baby,
yes.
not Sagar, just the
Priya.
baby.
The Priya show.
Yeah, that's right. All right, we'll stick around for that. BreakingPoints.com. If you want to see the second half of the Friday shows, you get the show in your inbox early every day. So make sure to subscribe there if you can. If you can't, just make sure to subscribe. We appreciate it very much. And Ryan and Crystal will see you back here tomorrow.
See you then.
Hey, if you liked that video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to Breaking Points.
If you want to see the rest of Counterpoints, go to breakingpoints.com to become a premium member and get the full uncut show every morning in your inbox and on Spotify.